With The Shape of Water teed up to be one of the most wonderfully weird Oscar winners of all time, I wanted to look back at the singularly strange and terrific career director Guillermo del Toro has fashioned for himself. Del Toro's vampire odyssey, Cronos, placed him stylistically in the company of Spain's greatest post-Franco artists. Though he was from Mexico, he understood the country's silence after fascism. He found his voice in the thick of it. Del Toro took a while finding his footing across a fault line separating Hollywood from Mexico and Spain, where it was commonly believed he made his more personal work, but eventually he found a way to combine both like two partners in a dance. Del Toro's tenure as one of the world's great fabulists got off to a rocky start. Mimic, his English-language debut, didn't make its money back. Audiences were cold, critics were mixed, and Del Toro himself doesn't have the nicest memories of it. He's quoted as having said, "Two horrible things happened to me in the late 90s. My father was kidnapped, and I worked with the Weinsteins. I know which one was worse. The kidnapping made more sense. I knew what they wanted. But even he has to admit that the film is a visual marvel." Here's Roger Ebert, one of the film's more vocal defenders at the time of its release. Del Toro is a director with a genuine visual sense, with a way of drawing us into his story and evoking the mood with the very look and texture of his shots. He takes the standard ingredients and presents them so effectively that Mimic makes the old seem new, fresh, and scary. The film is genuinely upsetting and agreeably grotesque.
God, please help me!
If also unspeakably rich, gorgeous, and filled with easy-to-like characters. Fresh off an Academy Award victory, Mira Sorvino ably provides a beating heart for this horror story. Her emotional life, dealing with her desire to raise a family while coming to terms with the effects of an experiment she orchestrated that has had disastrous environmental consequences. All of this is written all over her expression. She wants to live through her work, but life has other plans. She's tired of being so easily read and isn't cut out for the kind of horrific adventure in which she's trapped, but she never lets any of that slow her down or stop her. She's one of the great 90s horror movie characters.
Sorry about you losing your specimen, but let's try and get our priorities straight.
This is not just a specimen, Peter. I did a pH test, and there are only 2 species that match what I found. Now, one of them is a leafcutter ant in the Amazon. The other one we released here 3 years ago.
You said the ones we released only had a lifespan of 6 months.
We engineered them to be sterile adults. The Judases were not supposed to last past 1 generation.
So what happened?
The one I examined today was a baby. They were designed to die. They are breeding.
Rob Bottin, one of the last practical effects geniuses, who was then winding down a decades-long career, provided the creature design. The film may have been an exhausting experience, but Del Toro began working relationships with screenwriter Matthew Robbins, composer Marco Beltrami, director of photography Dan Lautzen, and most importantly, actor Doug Jones. This alone must have made the film worth making. Jones became Del Toro's favorite leading man, crucial to his world of fantastic monsters, the man who translates his vision most literally. The star attraction in his nightmare circus. Mimic also introduced Del Toro's New York, which would materialize again in his TV series The Strain, another delightful entertainment with a less-than-perfect reputation. In his eyes, it's a grim fairy tale kingdom, home to immigrant communities, and a haven for monsters hiding where we never think to look. The central relationships in both are heartbreakingly believable. Del Toro gently eavesdrops on the little hopes, victories, and defeats that mean so much to 2 people, but nothing in the cosmic scheme of things.
She all right?
Patience. You know, sometimes these things can be wrong. It's okay. I gotta go, okay? Bye, babe.
Del Toro's sympathy is always with those who have to go underground just to live. As a Mexican artist trying to make something singular under the auspices of greedy American producers, he most certainly knew how to sympathize with these characters. Mimic is not only the grisliest cautionary fable about gentrification, it's also about the morality of mad science.
To find some answers, Walter.
Yes, Susan. Is it answers you want from me? Or is it absolution?
You still think making the Judases was wrong?
3 years ago, I would have called it unforgivable. But I have 2 grandchildren who are alive today, probably because of you. It would be a tad hypocritical for me to pass judgment.
That's not an answer, Walter.
It's not an easy question.
About the compromises we make during creation, not only for our own edification, but to hopefully help, or at the very least entertain, the public. Del Toro, like his beleaguered entomologist heroine, made a deal with the devil. Thankfully, they both get a second chance.